Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first B and C of the season. Apologies on behalf of my follically challenged friend in the lovely shirt tonight. I must say, Matt, I do like your shirt. But yeah, apologies on his behalf. He was, as we keep saying, he works relatively high in IT. Why don't you tell us actually what you do, Matt, and what you struggle with? Come on.
Weirdly, I work in looking after colleague devices, so endpoints. So I look after laptops, desktops, builds, that sort of shit.
Yeah, so that's what he does for a living. Yeah, when it comes to an OKB podcast, he has to borrow about 16 laptops off his neighbours to get one that works.
Do you know I were on?
Thanks ever.
I were on as well, and I were in time. It crashed.
We're here. That's all that matters. Look, what a game! A lot to talk about. I know you've had sort of prior engagements, so we'll run the intro and we'll get into it.
You wanted me?
You're not doing that either. You're not doing that either.
I've got it. Here we go.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome. As one of our originals used to say when he used to
welcome.
Funnily enough, we should say that actually, because we were looking, we got some clips up the other day, didn't we, Gilly, in the group of when we first started out. This is our third season now. Obviously, those who's followed us, thank you ever so much. But yeah, we're in our third season, and we look back at some of the stuff from the first season when Carl looked like pre-op. And there was some really funny hairstyles, and I know it was only 2.5 years ago, but like you look back now and some of the stuff we used to say and get into, and that me and Jay used to spend half his time knocking each other out by the internet, and but yeah, we look back and some of the stuff, but anyway, back to the welcome. That was one of our original hosts, what they used to say when we entered and started. But yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us, following us along the way. Gilly, thank you for eventually coming on. I know you only caught the second half of the game today, but arguably the most exciting probably half of the game, in my opinion. We played better football in the first half for me. But yeah, it was certainly a better second half for a neutral to watch, I think. I'll start. We'll start. I mean, has anybody got anything in the comments that they'd like to say about the first half? I thought, I'll give my 10 pence. I know you missed it, Gilly. I thought we controlled.
I had it on radio,
really well.
so
did you?
I heard some of it. I got about halfway through first half, so I know I was asking about the scores, and so all I was seeing in group chats were "fuck." It's like, right, okay, we've conceded then.
Yeah.
I managed to get some of it on radio in first half, and I've got to be honest, it sounded. I mean, it's difficult to get it on radio, especially when you're listening to radio Leeds, because it's not too bad, but it's slightly biased towards Leeds, and it's difficult to get a handle of it. But it sounded like we were playing good stuff.
I was just going to ask you that, actually. I was going to ask you, how did it come across on the radio? But if you're listening on radio Leeds, obviously there is that little bit of bias. But I mean, to sum up the first half for me, we controlled the game quite well. We got caught on the break a couple of times. It was an absolute freak goal from Pordence. I know I put Huang in my tweet, but Huang was the Huang was their danger man today in the absence of Jimenez. So yeah, I thought we controlled stuff. We looked really, really eager, competing. We were battling for every ball. We were getting forward. We were getting back, and that this Marsh style of pressing, if you like, really worked for us. I mean, we'll get ripped open by a good side. We will get ripped open if we play like that against a good side. But when we're choosing our battles and the teams that we're playing against and how we play against them, this is one of them where we have to do that, and we have to do it well. First half, mate. Honestly, it was almost like chalk and cheese to what the football that we watched under Marsh towards the second half. The latter half of last season. There was no stupid long balls. Everything seemed controlled. We were trying to hold possession. The pressing worked really well. They weren't like headless chickens. Is that sort of the picture you got from listening? I know it's different when you're listening. You're trying to build a mental image in your mind, but like, is that sort of the feeling you got from the commentary you got online?
Yeah, it sounded like we were, for large stretches, we were in control. I mean, if you look there, Bremner's goal, I mean, he meant Leeds, he's already changed it. Radio Leeds are frothing at the mouth about Hwang Ivy. It wasn't just Hwang either. They were constantly talking about it. And if you look at the way that they've played against us in the past, we've complained about it. Jimenez tends to be the central focal point of that. But yeah, there were constant comments about the way that they were falling over, but you're on tenterhooks because you can't really see what the shape of the game is and that sort of thing. It very much felt like we'd have the ball, we'd give the ball away. Actually, we'd get the ball back. In doing so, either they dive or we've just got the ball again, and it felt very much like we were just dominating that element.
Absolutely, mate. I think that's pretty good. To say you didn't watch the game, that's quite an accurate representation of that first half. In fairness, they worked tirelessly, and the two American lads, Aronson and Adams, honestly, they're absolute workhorses, mate. Honestly, and I don't know if that's just a typical American style. I don't know enough about American football and American soccer,
football in America.
Football. Yeah. Football in America. I don't know enough about their style and how they're bred to play football. And if that is, if that's one of their key attributes is to work really hard for each other, then we've got absolute diamonds on our hands within those two. Tyler Adams, unsung hero. Aronson in that first half was unbelievable, and they both just they're not afraid to get stuck in. Tyler Adams was winning balls left, right, and centre. He's nothing sexy about his game at all. Tyler Adams, absolutely nothing sexy at all. He's been put in that team to break up play and be an absolute pain in the ass for the opposition, and that's what he is. Yeah. And you might have noticed that in the second half when you managed to get to watch it. He just comes from nowhere and he'll just chase and chase. And
yeah, absolutely.
It was.
I think one of the things that if we reflect on, I think you and I have both said this in the past around our favourite players, and quite high on the list, if not number one, is Batty, and we're not sexy about Batty's game. Now I'm not saying Adams he's Batty. Batty went and won the title and various other things, and he is a genuine legend. But in terms of the style of play and the fact that he just didn't care, he wasn't a big guy. Want Batty. Adams is not a big guy, but he'll get stuck in. He'll work hard. He'll get stuck in, and he'll make the tackles that need to be made. And there were a couple of times on the edge of our box. There were one very obvious one actually where Christensen got Cock-Handler out of bother. But Adams doing that job, mopping up in front of defence, you could see straight away that he's doing it well. I'm looking at the second half rather than the first half, but it continued. It was a theme, and I think that's the theme we'll get used to seeing this season. Is it'll be Adams that do the breaking up of the play. Rocker's got it in his locker as well, but he's the player. He's almost that quarterback type thing that people have spoken about in the past. Whereas Adams is the one that's going to get stuck in, and then the range of passing comes from Rocker. Now, if you look at that, that's what we were looking for Calvin to do, both elements of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it gives us that additional layer of protection. The fact that we've got two people in there, and you look at the formation, and all right, it's a 4-2-3-1, whereas we were all expecting the penis formation previously. That 4-2-3-1 gives us that solid base. And do you know what? And people will scoff at this. I can't wait to see what Firpo looks like when he's fit, when he's in that side and Christensen on the other side with the two players sat in front of the centre-backs, ensuring that we've got that protection. Because, like we said before in the pre-season pods, his game is not being solid defensively. His game's being there in defence and then breaking into attack. And, I'm looking forward to seeing how those two actually get into the game and provide the width.
Absolutely. You're not going to get 5-10 goals a season from either of them, are you? Rocker or Adams, But like you said, you quite rightly say, you compared, Phillips was expected to do that role has won for Bielsa in front of a back four. Whereas I know what you're saying. When we've got Rocker and Adams sitting in front of the back two, we've almost got a back four then with the two left back and right back actually being additional forwards and moving forward. So it is exciting. And poor Stroik, he probably, I mean, I don't want to focus on any negatives because we won the game, but he probably was our worst player today. But that's because he's not a left back, and defensively sound definitely. But because he's been asked to play as an attacking left back, he's just looked relatively clueless when we go forward, you know. But tip my hat to him. He's got in there. He's doing a job for his boss, you know, for the team, for the squad, for the boss, and he's doing exactly what's asked of him, albeit not to the levels expected of somebody who's playing left back for Leeds United in the Premier League. But he's doing a job, you know. So just to touch upon, you said there about Adams and Rocker. One thing which was notable was Rocker's absence in the second half. He was quite quiet. He worked really, really hard in the first half and sprayed a lot of ball. He did work really, really hard, but he did sort of dampen. Probably is one of a good word. Just to, like, sort of when we were under pressure, you know, we didn't win any ball. He sort of, I don't like the term went missing, because he was still part of the formation, the unit that was moving around and everything. But in terms of when we had the ball at our feet, we didn't have the ball. So it almost made him look a bit of a ghost really on there. And he was obviously replaced then. Yeah, a bit of a passenger, but he wasn't. I mean, if you watched him, he did move around well, and he was defending well in terms of his position. But his role within that squad as part of a double pivot is the complete opposite of Tyler Adams. Yeah,
but I think, you know, to give him his due, because I think if you look, you know, they've had pre-season. This is the first game, and this is, you know, whether it's the best or not is a different matter, but probably the most difficult league in the world. And, you know, the pace it's played at, this is one of the issues that I've had coming into it. You know, we've talked about Premier League experience, and, you know, they've got top-level experience, but it's knowing the pace of the game is going to be difficult to get to. Bear in mind how much football he's got in his legs over the last couple of years. He's not played all that much. Now, you can see why when you see where he's been and how class their midfield is. You know, that's not knocking him. He's just not got that much football in his legs over the last couple of seasons. So it might take him a bit of time to get up to that level that he needs to be physically. You know, I've no doubt he'll get there, but it just might take him a little bit longer than normal on the back of he's not coming off a full season and then into pre-season. He's not played all that much.
No, fair reflection, absolute fair reflection. And I think we've got a real steal on him. You know, there was a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there was people. I mean, why are we, you know, we're selling Calvin Phillips, our best player for the last 20 years, and we're signing you know, somebody who's only played however many games for Bayern Munich, and you have to look at it, and you look at the players that were in front of Rocker at Bayern Munich, and in Kimmich and what's his name, German fella,
Goretzka.
Goretzka. And then even when they weren't fit, Alaba had slot in there, and we're talking about world class players. Do you know what I mean? Absolute world class players. But there is a real player in there, and I'm really, really excited about him. Anyway, I've seen a couple of people mention this player, and we've not really talked about him yet. So I think it's probably a good time to mention Brendan Aronson. I mean, absolutely, without a doubt, man of the match for me. I mean, I know we usually do this at the end, but I think it deserves a mention now, just simply because of his work ethic. He's, you know, it just looks almost like he's been doing it for forever. Do you know? But you probably caught. He looked quite laboured in the second half, in fairness, but he was still the best player on the pitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. You might be being slightly unfair there, because you know, I think he stayed on until mid-80s. All right, he might not look quite as fresh as he did in the first half, but he was still looking good. And, you know, I think I went for Aronson to be the top assister in the side this season, purely on the principle of what I'd seen in pre-season, especially that ball that he played through for Bamford's goal against Cagliari. And I think we're just in that position where...
Against who?
Calgary. Sorry, Carl. So I think we anyone on towards the end of the game, and yet he might have faded slightly. Again, first game in the Premier League, and it's going to take him or Premier League, as the 49ers are telling us. But yeah, so but he still looked good. Just to reflect on what you're saying around the player of the match. I've got the player ratings from the BBC website in front of me, and Rodrigo scored, and he's got a 7.94. Aronson got an 8.32. And you know what? They haven't given him the goal.
I know they haven't. I'm a bit gutted.
I've watched that a few times, and I genuinely cannot.
Is he my fantasy team as well? Is he my fantasy team, man? I'm gutted.
Honestly, it definitely comes off him. And if it comes off him that far out, how do you give that? I think that's especially. I mean, I know it's a different level, but especially when everybody was talking about Rodrigo getting a hat trick, and you look at the numbers of touches of the opposition player that they had on its way into the goal, and Aronson's there, middle of the goal, gets a toe on it. He definitely gets a touch. I think that's really unfair to not give him that goal.
Is it as dubious as the Rodrigo hat trick against Cagliari?
That's what I was saying. That is, yeah. It's not. It's far more a goal than that one. So I don't know. I think that's really unfair. But he did, and so what I quite liked was I caught some of the interview with him after the game. He speaks well. He does speak well. And he was asked about the run that he made and being there, and he said, "Well, if I'm not making that run, potentially we don't score that goal, and the defender just clears it." And the interviewer equated him to Frank Lampard, and he just rolled his eyes and didn't say, "Oh."
Yeah, no. Have you seen the penalty incident back in the first half?
I haven't. This is the one on Christensen. I've seen somebody saying that Christensen says, it was just a penalty. It was just a penalty. I think Jesse said the same, but I haven't seen that one yet.
So effectively, what happens is the ball's in the air. Christensen wins the header, and Saz come to collect it or punch it or whatever. Right. And Christensen's headed it, and after he's headed it, his fists hit Christensen in the face, or his hands hit Christensen in the face. Now, if that's a foot on his leg or his body, on his torso, anywhere else, that's a penalty. If it's even his hand on his foot, on his leg, on his torso, on his shoulder, anywhere, it's a penalty. I can't wait. This takes us to this new VAR conversation, because VAR looked at it and they decided, they decided that it wasn't a penalty. I'm really looking forward to seeing what gets released, and I want to hear the conversation between the VAR and the referee.
Yeah, my thoughts on this.
Well, hey, we spoke about it this week, Matt. I want to see the conversation as to why it wasn't even sent to a screen, or why nothing. I want to know why how they decided that wasn't foul play. Yeah.
So we did discuss this, and my thoughts on it are: if you want to be transparent, then you broadcast it live, as many other sports do. You
rugby
look
league,
at
cricket.
You talked about Aussie Rugby League, which I've not watched much of, but even Super League. The mic's up. You can hear the conversation directly happening between them. Yeah. Cricket's brilliant for it. You get a really transparent understanding of exactly what they're looking at. Right down to the decision on the pitch from Super League. And if it's given as a try on the pitch, it's like, well, I can't see enough of a reason to overturn this. Fine. Okay, that's fine. I think it's a try, and you're not going to give it a try, but it's for my team, so I'm going to take that. I'm a little bit biased, but if you can't see enough to overturn that, fine. But I've heard the way that you've gone about it. I've heard how you've arrived at your decision, and I can make peace with that. It's when the lack of transparency is there, and you've got absolutely no idea, when it seems completely wrong. If you don't have an understanding of how they've arrived at the decision, how can you make your peace with the decision and the outcome? It makes no sense to me. And if they wanted the transparency that they're saying that they've put it in for, you don't do it after the fact.
It's premeditated, pretty much. It's almost like they're only going to release the bits that make them look like they've made the right decision. In fact, I would almost put a very large bet on that we will not hear the VAR conversation as to why that wasn't given. Honestly, I would, and the reason for that is they brought it in to try and promote how good VAR is and how good the work that they do. There's not a chance they're going to put it on for a decision like that. No way.
And do you know what? I'll be interested because we can watch it tonight. I'll be interested to see how Match of the Day manage that because we'll talk about VAR.
Of course they will. All the commentators, I was watching it on some bloody channel, and
I was too.
And all the commentators, everybody. I was a female commentator. I didn't catch your name. I would recognise it if you said the name, but everybody was saying it wasn't her, by the way, Karen Carney, because she would have said it wasn't a penalty. But but everybody, all the commentator team, everybody said it was a stonewall penalty. How things like that can go missing. Anyway, we seem to be being relatively negative so far, apart from obviously the praise for Aronson.
Go for what you Aronson.
Hannah Brad, you're American. Can you tell us how to pronounce Aronson or Aronson, please? But not in an American accent.
I would call him Aronson, but I don't know if you've seen it. The Aaron Aronson. That'll do.
Iraq and Iran. So Aronson. I am right, Aronson. Yeah, I thought I was right. Cool, we'll take that. Minute silence for Villa. Right. Solanum. Great point. Before the season started, we all had to put our flops of the season in. In fact, if you listened the other night, we were live actually when I did mine, and my flop of the season after my dog had headbutted my router. Aaron. Yeah. Did I call you American? Yes, of course I called you American. You're American, are you?
No, she lives in America.
She's
family's
American.
from over
She speaks with American accent.
She runs the West Coast Lights.
Exactly. Anyway, So my prediction, Solanum, was that that Aston Villa were going to be the flops of the season, and how much I would love that to be true. To be in a relegation scrap this season with Stevie Gerrard and Frank Lampard at Everton. Imagine how good that would be to watch.
Well, just
Gerrard
imagine how
Fat
Frank feels today being beat at home by Chelsea.
That was always going to happen. Chelsea will be all right this season.
I hope they absolutely smash them and Everton never win a game. That'd be nice.
Ever again.
Ever again. And to be fair, it was me that went for Fat Frank's Everton as the flops. So
all right. In which case, then we're both winning. But yeah, going into half time, 1 apiece. We obviously got the goal back. Rodrigo, by the way, who is revitalised under Marsh, I would argue.
Do you think it is because he's been put into that leadership group? Do you think that's what the root of that turnaround is?
I don't know. Do you know what? It just seems he still looks tired. He still looks like he burns out really quickly. I don't think he's a midfielder. I don't think he's an attacking midfielder. I think he's a 9. And I think he's almost playing off the back of Bamford now, which is almost 2 up front. And he's relishing that role. Obviously, with his hat trick last weekend, he scored today. I think he scored. Did he score 5 in pre-season altogether? Something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends how many you give him from Calgary.
Well, yeah, Calgary. That was 3. That was 3. Definitely 3 hours there. But yeah, do you know? I think this season we're going to see the very best of Rodrigo since we've had him. I don't know if he'll ever get to the heights of when he was the Spanish number 9 again or not. But yeah. I think he's going to be a really important player to us this season. And when I was having my daily, is it daily? It's probably hourly debate on Twitter about backup and players and things. And I argued that
you're not talking about arguing on Twitter, are you? We wouldn't do that, either of us.
Yeah, the Aggie pod. Everybody who argues we've not got enough centre forwards and we've not got enough left backs. My argument for the centre forward was that actually we've got Bamford, who's fully fit. We've also got Rodrigo, who was Spain's number 9. We've then got Joffe, and then we've got Greenwood, who was bought as a striker as well. Then we've got Mateo Joseph, who scores 4 goals for the under 21s last night. So if we sign,
let's not pile any pressure on him yet.
Yeah, I know, but like we said the same about Joffrey only this time last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my argument would be, if we were to bring in Callum Wendo, for argument's sake, at 22 million, I think it's been touted at.
Yeah.
Where does that put Bamford? Where does that put Gelhardt? Where does that put? You know what I mean? I
don't think that affects Bamford at all. So I get where you're coming from. I think Bamford's still our number 9. I think he starts every game he's fit for. I think you buy Callum Wendo and that doesn't change. It might have changed if you brought in Charles De Kettle. It seems like that was a bit of a hide into nothing. We know that the player were never really interested in coming. He set his stall out and said where he wanted to go. But I don't think we see a Callum Wendo or somebody like that coming in and taking Bamford's place. If Bamford's fit, he plays. What would be interesting to me is, would Callum Wendo come in and play alongside Bamford? Would he push Rodrigo out of the team and start behind Bamford? Because that's not really.
How can he drop Rodrigo currently?
Yeah. Does Bamford drop back slightly? Callum Wendo play in front of him? All of a sudden you do have options. But I think he rates Greenwood. It depends for me where he rates Greenwood playing, because Rodrigo's playing off the front. Greenwood tends to do the same. Joffrey plays up front and Paddy plays up front. So if you look at it that way, yes, we've got players that can do a job. And obviously we saw Dan James last season try to do a job as well. And to be fair, he worked hard and he did his best at it, but he won't get in the goals that we needed. My only concern is Rodrigo, played 9 for Spain, but was never prolific there. But he almost played false 9. You know, he were being tidy on the ball and they were playing wingers in. Yeah. But he wasn't really playing it as leading the line. He was playing it as dropping off and being a playmaker in that role. So he's not prolific. And Joffrey and Greenwood might be. They look like they will be, but that's a lot of pressure to put on them and a lot of expectation on them if Paddy's out for any length of time. Now, if he's not, I think we're fine. But if he is, and he was last season, that's where the fear for me lies, in not having somebody that has scored a lot of goals in other leagues.
Yeah, no, that is a completely fair argument. But I think where I'm coming from is that you don't buy somebody just in case. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You just don't. It's just not. I mean, in an ideal world, yeah, fine, great. Champ manager, football manager, FIFA. Yeah. Buy somebody for 20, 30 million who's just in case. But we're not at that level. I think we just need to be a little bit realistic sometimes that actually if we really needed to, we've got players who can play those positions, So yeah, and anyway, just on you mentioned there Greenwood, who Marsh really seems to like. He brought him on before coffee today, which moved Klitsch slightly further back, although I don't think Klitsch got that memo because he was all over.
He really didn't. He was still playing on their last man, wasn't he? On their defenders.
Yeah. Great to see Klitsch back today, man. Honestly, the energy he brought when he came on. But in fact, both him and Greenwood, somebody mentioned earlier that those substitutions changed the game. It's hard to deny and hard to argue with that. Great. Greenwood just looks like he just looks so mature and sensible, and you almost feel like you can trust him, and you shouldn't really feel like that about a 21s player. You know, I mean,
you say sensible, but he's got that element of shithousery about him that I like as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely an edge to his game, and he don't get bullied out again. You know, he'll stand up. But what it Southampton last season when somebody were trying to give him, what it Chelsea away? I can't remember, but somebody came steaming in, and he just rode it, and then steamed in on him 2 or 3 minutes later, and you're thinking, that's what we need. That is what we need. Yeah. We need players that'll stand up to that sort of thing. Can't get bullied out, and I think that ball that Click played across. I think you were right at the time. I think it was you that said it, that Bamford at that point were looking at about 75%. And I think a fit Bamford's on that and scores. But it was a great ball across. And then Struijk did amazingly well to get a corner out of it. I don't know how he managed that.
He came off the corner flag, didn't he?
Well, yeah. But you are right. Click brought a lot of energy to the side. But Jesse, right early on, said that Greenwood was one of the people that had really taken to the ideas, and he was seeing a lot in him, and was seeing a lot of benefit out of him in training and the way that he applied himself to his ideas and got his ideas across to him. So he definitely, he really does. I think that the thing for me as well was, again, when we're talking about bringing in an additional striker and that sort of thing, we used 4 subs today. And the only time we've ever done that before is when we'd had an head injury. We've not used all 5, but we've gone beyond the 3 already. So, that, and Jesse's not afraid. He will tinker. Now, I think you can pretty much name his starting 11 when you know who's fit. You can pretty much name it. And where Bielsa had that.
It's pretty much today, isn't it? I suppose. Yeah. But Sinisterra probably starts.
Well, Sinisterra might well do. I think now they've been given this opportunity to start. And I think we're in a position now where whoever's injured and coming back, other than probably Cooper, who I think will start as soon as he's fit, the rest of them have to earn the shirt. Maybe Firpo, based on the way that he plays football and the fact that Struijk is a little bit of square peg round hole type position. But like you said, he's doing a job. So I think people have to earn the shirt. And Sinisterra coming back from injury, I don't think walks into the side. I think he's going to have to earn that. Because if you look at, you don't drop Rodrigo. I think Harrison, it sounded like he were playing well at first half, and I think he got the first assist. And you're not going to drop Aronson because he's playing well. So out of them front 3, you don't drop any of them for Sinisterra just because he's come back from injury. He's going to have to earn his way into the side.
Yeah. That's it, mate. I think just going back to Click, and it's really important this season that we've got a real mixture and a real, I suppose, blend of youth and experience on that bench. And it showed today that when they brought, there was a mixture. There was Click came on. There was Somerville, Joffe, and Greenwood as well. And it's really, really important that we keep hold of players like that. I mean, there's been reports of Click wanting to go back to FC Twente. Is that a great move for him just for his international career? He's in his 30s. Do you want to make that move just to play a few more international games? I don't know if it's a lot of bollocks.
It is the World Cup. It is the World Cup. But the thing is, if it goes back to you might be right with Twente. I'm not sure, but I know there were rumours about him leaving, and the fact that I think there's been a couple of arguments about is he going to play, is he not going to play, and that sort of thing potentially. But ultimately, when you get right down to it, is training and playing at Leeds, even if he only has 10 appearances between now and World Cup, or going and playing in a poorer league, where's he going to benefit most? And all it takes is one tweaked knee, one tweaked hamstring or something, and he'll start. It's all it takes. He's right on the periphery. He's 12th, 13th or whatever in line to get a start. He's not a million miles away.
Yeah.
And I think he was first brought on as well, wasn't
he? Him and Greenwood came on at the same time, didn't they? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No. Yeah, sorry. Click came on first.
Joffrey and Jimmy came on at the same time. But
Click came on for Rodrigo, so he played in the 10 to start with, in just behind, and then we brought Greenwood on. Because you can only make the 5 substitutions over 3 breaks, you see. So you can't have actually 5 stoppages to make 5 subs. You can only have 3 stoppages to make up to 5 substitutions. And Click came on first, came on for Rodrigo in the 10, and then Rodrigo came on for and then Greenwood came on for Rocker, and that I automatically assume that means Click going back and Greenwood going in behind.
I did as well, but it didn't look like
Click
it.
Didn't get that memo. But yeah, I think the 30 minutes from Click every week is a great option because he's got something, he's shithousing, he winds them up, that you've really got to keep an eye on him because he has got that little bit of quality and that little bit of game changer almost, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed his cameo today. I'd arguably say it changed the game.
I mentioned before that I had the BBC player ratings in front of me. He lines up third behind the 2 goal scorers.
Right.
We've gone for less than half an hour. It tells you exactly the impact he had on the game.
Yeah. Great stuff. Right, let's have a quick read through some of these comments that have been coming in, and we'll go through. So we've had a few on. That's me taking the piss out of Matt, saying I'm going to shave his head off if he's letting it later.
Had you already talked about the Solanum one, the top one?
Oh, I don't know. Couldn't chuffing believe it. Tell her on.
Yeah.
No, sorry, we've not talked about this. But apparently Smarty's put a bit of pre-season weight.
Got a bit of timber on him.
But then Smarty says something along the lines of, I think you got your eyes on back to front, so t-shirt I've got on his baggy as fuck. He's obviously been home and got changed or something, hasn't he? But yeah, the first comment I just wanted to pick up on was Michael Brown. We spoke about American players right near the start, actually. North American players might prove to be value for money if Aronson and Tyler Roberts are anything to go by. These could do well to inquire about their international teammate Timothy Weah as a striker. I remember watching, actually, Timothy Weah in Aronson's first game for the USA after he signed for us and he scored an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, because we were both up at daft o'clock, weren't we? Because I just got back from Team Pablo in Valencia.
That's it. Yeah.
And so we were both up at
daft 1 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. So no, I remember watching that, and it was, and I think that is direct descendant from George, isn't it? George Weah.
Nephew?
Oh, is it? I thought it was son. Maybe it is.
It might be. Give it a little Google.
He is the son of former professional soccer player, Ballon d'Or winner, and president of Liberia, George Weah.
President
of Liberia? The president of Liberia. Wow. The one thing that I would say, and all right, there's some distance in years between the two situations. It does look good, but Freddie Adu was the second coming of Jesus. So, pinch of salt.
Fair play. If Adams is half the player of Batty, we will do well here. Can't agree more than that. Yeah, spot on. If we get half a Batty, we'd be happy. Simon Johnson, those kinds of player unsung heroes. On about, I think we're still on about Adams here. Note special, but they graft for the team. They're the type of players that, as a player, you really appreciate, but as a fan, you probably don't notice that much because they're not scoring, they're not assisting, they're not clearing off the line, all that sort of thing. Solanum, Click and Greenwood were effective substitutions. We just touched on this. Look, I think Marsh. I think the benefit we've got with Marsh is, and you said it earlier, Gilly. He's not afraid to tinker and change things up if things aren't working. He almost recognizes it immediately that something needs changing. I think he was reading my tweets earlier because I said something needs to change here, and then he brought some subs on.
It must have been then because nobody else could have said that in the same time frame or anything like that.
No. Hey up, Hannah Brad, all the way from the US of A. How you doing? Nailed on penalty. Yeah, I think, look, when you see it back, Gilly, you'll be fuming that wasn't given.
Especially given that I went for 3-1 in Predictions League.
Yeah, even worse, yeah. VAR is fecking shite. If that had been Mesley on a Wolves player, I bet it would have been given. Yeah, look, we know where we stand as Leeds fans. Everybody hates us. We don't care. It seemed Rodrigo didn't like Bielsa, or was taking taking orders, sorry. So maybe him being in a bit more control in this new role, he will do better. We've seen it happen before, haven't we? A lot of players play differently to different managers, and it's hard to believe and hard to understand that actually as a player, sometimes if I got a dickhead boss at work and I didn't want to do something, it's their job. So yeah. I can see that.
Just an additional element as that as well. I think one of the things that it might have even been Wilco spoke once upon a time about coaching different players and the way that sometimes there's a player that needs a kick up the arse and sometimes there's a player that needs an arm around the shoulders and geeing up in that way. Some want to be backed at, and they'll benefit from being told off and being backed at, and they'll pull up the socks that way. But some don't want that. Some just want not an ego stroke. I don't mean that, but just building up. And
just any stroke.
But I think from Bielsa's perspective, the intention was there to have distance from the players, and he made sure that was the case, and that he treated everybody the same. Now, if you have a player, go on.
You go on, sorry.
I was just going to say,
if
you're in. I think there's a delay. It's like Eurovision.
You're right. It was almost like it was regimented under Bielsa. So there was him, and then everybody else. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, go on. I know what you were getting at.
Yeah. So and that was the point. Is if you've got then a player that's going to benefit from being handled in a different way, being coached in a different way, that might be why we're seeing the difference in Rodrigo. If he's one of those players that really benefits from being built up and being given that kind of leadership mentality and that leadership role, I don't think we've seen him with the armband on. I think it was Cock that put the armband on when Paddy went off, wasn't it? So I'm not certain, but from a position of the leadership group that Jesse's talked about, he wants to have people there with responsibility in the team, and he is one of those people. So if he's got the responsibility and he's building him up, that might be where he does his best work.
Spot on. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't agree more on that. Michael Brown, according to Angus Kinnear, being interviewed on the Square Ball. Other podcasts are available. Leeds will only buy players if that particular player is a good fit for the team and Callum Window is available. And if Callum Window is available, Leeds will buy him. Now that is a massive statement, isn't it? I think, especially with what's gone on. I'm actually after today's result, I'm a lot more relaxed on the. I mean, I was quite relaxed anyway in terms of transfers and incomings and where we'd strengthened and everything. We'll get ripped open by good sides. We will get beaten, and we will. But they're not our battles. We've got to choose our battles. Our battles are mid-table sides and beating the teams below us. Do you know, they that's how we've got to set up. If we set up it that way every week, we'll get beat by City. We'll get beat by Chelsea. We'll get beat by probably Arsenal and a few others. Liverpool and Scum probably as well. But I'm good with that as long as we can pick up enough points to be mid. Radrizzani said through the week 10 to 14th is the target. He also said there's absolutely it's impossible to get relegated. But I'm not.
He didn't even say that. Next level, he said it's impossible that we'll even be in the relegation fight.
Right. Okay.
That doesn't mean it's impossible for us to be relegated. We're not going to be anywhere near, according to him, and that worried me a little bit. I think, but you are right. The way that you touched on it earlier, the way that match teams press, and I think we start to see that with the shape now, is they'll press onto one side of the pitch, and that's how. So it'll move out, and we saw it instantly actually last season. The players just didn't really get it. They were trying to close down in the way that they've been told to. The trigger movements of it going to the fullback, and then the 9 and the winger will push on to whichever side of the fullback it is. That leaves us exposed on the far side of the pitch. And a side that's good enough to switch the ball quickly enough in possession, in transition, they'll rip us open. They will. You can see that. And if you've got your Man Cities and you play your teams like that are quick on the break and are fully capable, I mean, they're going to dominate the ball as well. But that where we try and press, and we might sit off in those games, but where we try and press and we press on one side of the pitch, a team that's good enough at being able to spread the ball around. But that you're absolutely right. That's not our battle. If Villa and Everton down, you look at Villa, you look at Everton, you look at Southampton, you look at Palace, maybe. I mean, they might be slightly better than the others I've just named. And then the ones that are lower, your Brentfords, your Bournemouths, your Fulhams, your Forests, those are the ones that we should be winning. And I think in the way that we're setting up and the way that we are pressing, those teams aren't going to have the quality on the ball to be able to get out of that easily. And I think that's the percentages that they're playing. So I can see why we're setting up that way. And actually, I quite appreciate that, especially. But like I said before, I want to see what it looks like and how we balance out with an actual left back that's good at getting forward and a right back that's good at getting forward, and see how we set up then and what that looks like. Because, do you know, I've been quite negative in pre-season because I don't think that the board have done enough. But actually, from a first 11 and what Jesse's first 11 looks like, I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, Michael, thanks for Matt ranting for the last 5 minutes. Cheers for that comment. Bremner again. Let's hope Click finds his confidence and gets back to scoring screamers.
Do you remember his start in the song and his goals just drying up?
Yeah,
because they sang it today. Because he was scoring pearlers, and then we started singing about the fact that he was scoring from 20 to 40 yards.
Yeah, no one since,
and it stopped.
Yeah. See, I like this idea. I do like this. 60 minutes from Rodrigo and 30 from Click every week could be a winner. You know, that's sort of man talking sense. I mean, it worked today, obviously. So we can all sit here in hindsight and say, what a great idea. But 60 minutes from Rodrigo, you know, his international experience and everything else, and then bringing on another international, you know, to come and do the same job, but also be able to sit back a little bit more and work a little bit harder and do a bit more shitty work could be the answer. I do like that, Solernum. I do like it. What was Large's problem with Marsh at the end? I have to admit, I switched off. I've seen the altercation on social media, but I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I retweeted it.
Just 1 second. While you tell everybody, I'm just going to run for a wee really quickly.
No worries.
I can still hear you.
Make sure you mute yourself. Yeah, you have done. You're all right. We don't want to hear it. So I did retweet it. I think what had happened is Marsh had gone across to shake his hand. Now, I don't know if it had boiled over from something previous in the game. Marsh went over to shake his hand. But the thing that I really liked is Large moved away from him. Marsh wasn't having any of that at all, and he gave him a load of stick, and I've retweeted that and the video, and I thought that was brilliant, and I like seeing that. But what were even better was, and it was pointed out to me, I'd missed it, was that Archie Gray were there, just absolutely wetting himself at Large and how immature he was. Now, that's a schoolboy laughing at a Premier League manager for being immature, and I just think that I'd completely missed it, and now that's my favourite part of the video. And I'm hoping that I padded enough there to get you back. We're back. We're all right.
Yeah, we're back. Sorry, mate. I've had a few of these this afternoon while I was watching the game, and
no bother.
I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, look, I've seen the incident, obviously, but I don't know what it was over. I've seen it, but I don't understand why it started. I don't know if there was what was do you know why the altercation started then?
It was the bit that I think it were only 6 or 8 seconds or whatever, but it started just Marsh went across to shake his hand and he wasn't having any of it at all.
Right. But Marsh, yeah, I mean, look, somebody commented on probably the same video saying, look, he's Aggie like the fans and he fits in sort of thing, which is great, and it's quite fitting that he does. He is very much like us. Right, anyway, Michael Brown, Bielsa, bless him, but he tended to stick with the tried and trusted reluctance to change if on the field performances weren't going well. Marsh is the opposite to that and will be inclusive with players. Right, yeah, no, sorry, I get that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities, but enough differences is probably the best way of comparing the two. And I mean, I'm past comparing the two anyway, because we loved Bielsa and we will fall in love with Marsh as well, if we're not already. He's a Leeds United manager, so yeah. But yeah, I do like that he's not afraid to change things up and, go for things and trial new things as well. And I'll tell you what, Matt, we both mentioned earlier on about how many youth players we had on the pitch today. So when you take into consideration who came on, Joffrey, Greenwood and Somerville, then we already had Stuick and Meslier, who were all signed. So we had 5 this time 2 years ago who were signed to be backups or youth players, which is great, and it's something we've been quite proud of, isn't it, over the years? And
it is. It is. I think early on in one of the really early podcasts, we were talking about who we were most excited about from the youth setup that's been signed. And you know, we went through those players, and it was Jimmy, it was Joffy, it was Greenwood, and so on. And I think we were in that position where what you now see is a youth player will look at Leeds and go, do you know what? There is a route through to the first team. And you look at youth players that will sign for Man City and that will sign for Chelsea, and they go out on loan, and you know, it's almost a loan farm there where they just take on too many players. Actually, there's a route through to the if you're good enough, you'll play.
Yeah, and not is it only a selling point for us. It's you know, the players themselves. I mean, I've heard rumours this week that Cody Drama's on about he's been told he can leave. I mean, I'm not sure how true it is, but actually, like you said, being a young player in and around, you know, the English Premier League, PL2, and whatever else in the league that the 21s are in. The Hammered Derby last night, did they 5-2? Was it?
Yeah.
I think so. But yeah, look, it's a great time to believe, and it's something we have prided ourselves on over the years. And then lost out to bigger clubs and better clubs, you know, and sold on. Whereas actually now we're in a position whereby, you know, we used to sell to Norwich, for instance. Fucking Norwich. Bournemouth. We used to sell to Bournemouth. And,
Lewis Cook. Like I mean, how did we let that happen?
And you look at Lewis Cook was rated higher than Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it just shows that where we are, we're getting back to like being Leeds United, and I mean, we've always been Leeds, and we'll always be Leeds. But what I mean in terms of being, people want to come and play at Leeds United again. You know, it's not considered necessarily a stepping stone anymore for a lot of these young players. There's real opportunity, and it's really, really great to see. Bremner's Ghost, big prediction. We'll finish 10th with 56 points. Hey, wow. End the season now, Bremner. I don't mind aging a year. Let's do it. Fuck the next 9 months of my life and the World Cup. I'll take that. I'll slap your hand off.
Wow. Yeah, I'd take that. Yeah, no problem. I'd take that straight away.
Would you age 9 months for it and forget the last 9 months of your life?
I don't know. But if you offered me the result in the league, I'd definitely take it.
Yeah, definitely.
Just another one that Bremner's Go said there. I've just had a look. Didn't Watford win their opener last season? They did, but they only beat absolute shite in first half of the season. The only teams that beat in first half of the season were Villa, Norwich, Everton, and the Scum. So you know they only beat shite. But yes, they did win,
and they still got relegated. We won.
Yes, but I think that was the point they were making.
Yeah. Seems like Jesse gets dirty Leeds. Yeah, I think he does. Look, we've all seen that iconic challenge on David Beckham all them years ago. So yeah, I think he really does get us. And yeah, I'm even more excited. I'll probably say after today's result for the upcoming season. It's how we got hold of Baked and Perkins. I think he's talking about the the route and the progression.
Yeah.
Bit of a shocker actually on Baked. Were you surprised to see him go out on loan to Oxford?
I was surprised where he went, but I think if you look at getting minutes into him, same with Cresswell. I don't think there is any. I got into I mentioned before that you and I don't argue on Twitter, but I did get into a debate. With somebody called Jill, I think they were called. That was around that basically said nobody ever goes on loan if the club and the manager that they've got rate them. And I'm like, but that's complete shit. And here's a list of 40 or 50.
Went to fucking Ipswich.
Went Norwich, to 5 different clubs before he made it. He went to Palace and a few others, and so yeah, he went to quite a few. We've had players go out and very definitely were always intended to come back. So I think that were a little bit of madness for me. I don't think there's any logic in that at all. So the fact that he went there, I thought maybe he would be playing a bit of a higher standard than that. But at the same time, I'm not surprised he's gone on the principle that he's not going to be. If you look to the bench to bring on a midfielder, you're going to be looking at Click. And actually showed last season that he can play that deeper role as well as the further forward role. So I don't think he would get minutes, especially if you look at Gabby as well. However you say his name, the lad that we signed from Man City. Who might well be ahead of him. Well, I want that far away. Who might be slightly ahead of him.
Do you know my argument?
It might not even be second choice.
No, do you know my argument with Bate though? I felt Bate was the most like for like replacement should Rocker get injured, because that was his game. Yeah. You know, when he filled in last season, when he came, he
did well against Chelsea.
He did, and that was his game. He liked sitting in the pocket and spraying the odd ball about. And I thought, actually, should Rocker, touch wood, man, because I fucking hate our injury record. Should Rocker have anything, suspension or injury, he would be, in my opinion, the most like for like. Now, clearly, Jesse Marsh doesn't think so, and he sees the guys every day. You know, I'm not going to ever sort of try and over educate somebody who does it for a living and has been there and done that. But from what I've seen on a pitch, I would have argued that he was probably our best like for like replacement. Should anything happen with Rocker? In terms of Adams, we've got quite a few people who can do that nitty gritty. Click can get in there. We've got Forshaw coming back as well. And we've got, so anyway.
That's a fair point. I skipped over a comment there because I went to Bremner's Ghost Watford question. So there was one for Michael Brown. With Bournemouth winning against Villa and Fulham holding Liverpool, given that those two teams are favourites for relegation, it was a vital win for Leeds, and he's right. Do you know, it's that early on in the season, and this was the point. Yeah, but this was the point I was making on Twitter with a few people is, they're saying to me, but the transfer window's not shut yet. It's like, but there's points available right now that we need. We can't afford to be dropping points just on the principle that, well, we're going to bring somebody in next week or the week after because the transfer window's still open. We need to be picking the points up now. And he's right. It really was a vital win, especially with those sides picking up points that you might think in advance of the game that they weren't going to.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, everyone looks at the end of the season, the table at the end of the season, but it's about picking up points throughout the season. You know, it's not. I mean, Bournemouth beating Villa. Who would have imagined that would have happened on the opening day, and who would have imagined Liverpool being held by Fulham? But that 1 point or those 3 points could be the difference at the end of the season between being a Premier League side or a Championship side next season.
Somebody's offering you a bet here.
Who wants to bet? Hang on a minute before we get there. Turn 44 the other day. I'd happily lose 9 months for that finish. Bremner's Ghost, I would probably lose 9 months of my life for that finish as well. It sounds sad. Providing I got all the memories from the games and everything, and I got to experience it, I would probably snap your hand off for that. Darko JB. I thought it was JB. Thank you so much. £10 says we have 30 points before the World Cup. Right, Bremner's Ghost. £10 with me now that we don't have 30 pounds. I'll have your bet just because it's a bet. I mean, I hope we have. But £10 goes to charity of the winner's choice. There you go. That bet is on. Right then, that's the comments. Plenty of comments coming in. Thank you ever so much again. We'll just wrap up then, and we'll do what we normally used to do last season on the BNC, and we will first of all give me your. I know you only saw half the match, so your half man of the match.
Click.
Fair point.
From the bit I saw, I'm going Click.
Yeah, mine would have been Aronson, but he was much busier in the first half, and yeah, we controlled that first half. It was totally chalk and cheese from what you saw for the first 20, 25 minutes, that second half to the first half. So yeah, Aronson would have been my man of the match. And
did he get the goal? Are you giving him the goal?
I mean, my FPL says not, but I'll be taking that up with the steward's inquiry, I think. And then in terms of Wolves, then who impressed you for Wolves? Who would you like from Wolves? Not just because where our weaknesses are, but who was arguably their most biggest threat?
I didn't see anybody I'd take.
Really?
Gibbs White looked all right. I think from a perspective of he took a couple of set pieces that looked all right. but I wouldn't swap any of the lads that I saw playing for us for any of the lads that were playing for them. The one thing I would say is that SAR save from Paddy, what a quality save. But then you look at I saw the Rodrigo goal played back from the first half, and you're thinking, how the fuck have you let that in and then saved that? So no, I genuinely I won't take any of their 11 for any of our 11 from today.
On the back of that, you look at Meslier, how he managed to get lobbed from 6 yards out with the highest lob in the world, and then he made some cracking saves as well. Meslier was really important for us again today. He's come of age. I think we underappreciate probably his age and what he's come from and everything. He's a great player. I think for me, if having watched the full game, I really like the look of their left back, their left side. In fact, their 8 Nori is it, and
that's who they've given the own goal to, isn't it? 8 Nori.
Yeah, and Neto, they were causing us a few problems in the first half and early second half as well. So I think it would have been them two if I had to pick a Wolves player.
And just looking across at the player ratings from the BBC website for them, is Podence, he's top, but he scored, didn't he? So he's going to be top. Yeah. And the follow up to that is
Wang looked good as well. Wang looked all right.
Wang was nowhere near. He was fifth in the list out of the 11 or 12. I don't know how many subs are made, but Podence and then Neto. But Podence is always going to be up there because he scored a goal and it massively impacts your rating from the BBC website.
Yeah, wicked. Any other business? Anything else you'd like to talk about from the game or anything coming up? What we got coming up? Oh, we got a live competition at the moment, which is for not signed at all. It's a print of the championship winning team from Sporting Icons, and we basically just check our pin tweet. It's not even the pin tweet, maybe, I don't think, but yeah.
You've done well there with that one, Luke. To be fair, you remembered more than I did.
I've done these since you've been on. I'm absolutely fucked. Go and have a look. Have a retweet. Enter the competition. Also, there's a live competition by our sponsors, which is CBD. We've got a live competition running as well.
I want that Stone Island tag. That's mine. It's got my name on it.
So go have a look at them at CBD_ or at _CBD. And we'll be back on Tuesday with the normal podcast. I'm not sure who's on. I can't even be asked looking, to be honest with you. But we'll look forward to Saints away, which I'm definitely not going to, by the way. I don't not because of what happened last year, but because it's my eldest daughter's 8th birthday next weekend. Anything else from you, Matt?
No, I'm all done, mate. I think they've had enough of me.
Jay Carter, this is Jay from the podcast, by the way, the really small one. Imagine buying a season ticket to watch your team roll around. We haven't spoken about that really. But yeah, I mean, what do you expect? Wolves, every time they come, it's usually led by their orchestrator and Jimenez rolling about and stuff. But yeah, frustrating, absolutely awful to watch. And I think they might be in a bit of trouble this year with any luck. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. And I think there is a bit, we've also not mentioned the ill-advised picture of the guy drinking the bottle of water on Twitter with the Leeds tears in it, which really did not age well.
It.
Yeah, he has. I've retweeted back to him and I've quoted him and said, "It seems like your picture's gone missing. Here it is." But
did you screenshot it?
Yeah. But do you know what? I don't, because I don't like Wolves for a few reasons. Not only do I not like the diving and the cheating, but the playing. The every single year, I'm on about our kits, but every single year their kit is shit. I've never liked a Wolves home kit. It's shit every time. It's that awful gold mixed with baby diarrhea. And that's all their kit reminds me of every season. But so I don't like them as a club anyway. But I almost feel sorry for their fans having to put up with that diving and cheating every single week and getting getting beat. It's not even like the winning having to put up with that. They're having to watch that and they're getting beat because they're shit. So, but it would be too far to say that I feel sorry for them. But yeah, no, fuck them. We can get it bin anyway.
Absolutely. And don't take anything away from that Leeds United side today. We battled hard. We deserve the win, and they're not a bad side. They'll beat some good sides this year. They'll go and cause some teams problems with their they break stuff up and frustrate sides and stuff. So look, we did well to get 3 points out of today, especially going 1-0 behind. I think every credit has to go to Jesse Marsh and the team and what they've been doing in pre-season. So look, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Buzzing. I'm really excited to see, especially when we've got a couple more attacking players as well to come, especially when you look at the starting lineup today, and you can throw people like Dan James and Sinistera on, even if it's from the bench. We've got a lot to look forward to this season. So yeah, we'll see you all again on Tuesday. Any more comments before we do shoot? Orange Burnley, rather be dirty than a diver. See you Tuesday. Cheers, Bremners, and that bet is on. Thank you ever so much for joining us, to everybody. Thanks, Gilly, for being fashionably late in a non-fashionable shirt. I've been Luke and been joined by Gilly. Thank you ever so much. See you Tuesday.